I think in traditional arranged marriages, especially in the past, I think both men and
women didn't have a power.
like,
Yeah.
and it's not that. I feel like they didn't even realize they didn't have the power, because they were just like, okay, yeah, I'm getting married. My parents chose this person. Let's do it. Like, they wouldn't even think that, oh, I don't have a choice in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. And
Like, they didn't think that was a problem. You know what I mean? But when I talk about marriage now, where you're saying that in arranged marriage, it starts with the concept that you just want to, I can live with that person, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna get married. That is not the reason to get married.
that is not the reason to get married.
Yeah, like that is, and that can happen even with love marriages. Like, you can even meet someone and just go for the bare minimum and think, okay, like, this person kind of understands me, like, I think, okay, let's get married. That can even happen with love marriages. That in itself is not what marriage is. That's not the right way to get married. You know what
But
I mean?
that's also why like 60% of love marriages end in divorce, is because of that. Because you can fall out of love even in a love marriage. And that's not a reason to get married. Exactly. And that's why I also feel like, and that's why, again, coming back to like the Bombay aspect of it and the Mumbai aspect of it, we are seeing so many people living in together. So it's like, is that, I mean, I'm trying it out too, so I question myself too about it. Like, a lot of people ask me, like, why aren't you all getting married? And I'm like, but I feel married. I have everything about being married, So I'm not sure what am I going to get out of it? I know it'll come to me, and I know I want to do it, but I'm not getting that push yet. So I'm not sure what am I going to get out of the whole marriage deal that I'm not
Deal.
getting out of it now.
So, can I ask you a question? Why did you guys move in together? Like,
Yeah.
what was the conversation you guys had before you moved in?
Okay, so when we moved in together, when we decided to be a live-in couple, I think I was also just tired of dating. When you're in your 30s, you're just like, you go on so many bad dates, and you don't really know a real person out of those 4 hours. You can go for a trip with a person, and like the horror stories I've heard of people like going on dates, going on holidays, and then when they get married and live in, and they realize that, oh, he's bipolar and he's a whole different personality, and like proper mental health disorders that can come out. But I'm like, the only way to really know a person is to live with the person. And I felt like for me that's more deeper. To doing the mundane shit is more deeper. Like, I want to know how you take the garbage out. I want to know how you load the dishwasher. I want to know like who will cook breakfast when one of us is sick. Like, these things means love to me more than you taking me to like a fancy cavo or something like that. And I think like those things I maybe it was nice in my 20s, but it lost its meaning after a while.
And then when you did decide to live in with each other, did it just kind of like happen, or was it something that you both were like, okay, let's do this?
I think for me, I was shifting houses, so it was more like the most obvious choice. So it's
Got
like
it.
when you're making the next like house shift, or you're everyone's renewing their rent at some point. And it's like, okay, we are anyway spending so much time together. This is the most logical step, because that also gives me the aspect of, okay, can he make a good financial decision? Living together is also a good financial decision, which also shows me how you are as a human going forward, right? Like, like paying 2 separate rents is really dumb for our own future. So, living in together just came in as that concept of, I'm tired of going on dates. I want to be in the house. I want to live a real life with you. And that can only happen when you live together. And then when you start doing it, you can't stop. So that's why you just move in.
So for the reason why I'm asking these questions is because I was like, the way you said that, there are so many horror stories of people who get married and then see the person, and that's so scary, right?
Very scary.
And I know that
And it's
definitely
happened with a lot of my friends.
I
as
know
well.
that happens, but the question is, how often does that happen? Like, what percentage of people who get married and live in after their marriage or live before the marriage, who ends up breaking their marriage sooner or like more, And so I was trying to find this information.
Yeah.
It's mostly in the West, so I don't know how it is in India, Pakistan, but in the West, what they found is live-in relationships usually end up in divorce more often than than if you lived with the person after marriage. Does that make sense?
True. I also feel like somewhere age has a factor to this.
Like if you're older.
If you're older and you start living with a person,
You're more mature.
Yeah,
so
you're more you don't want to take a lot of shit at some point. You're able to like be like, okay, this is not for me, I'm out.
yeah,
I'm financially independent, I'm emotionally independent,
I can just leave.
I
yeah.
can just leave. And
Yeah.
I think when you're younger and you get like married, it's still somewhere like, okay, I'm able to adjust more, I'm able to compromise more. And I'm not even saying adjust and compromise as like a flex in this way. In some places it's a great thing, but in some places it's not.
not,
So
yeah.
it's subjective here.
Yeah.
So I think like when you're younger and you do it, the chances are lesser.
Of you leaving the relationship.
Yeah.
I think like what you know the stats you brought up about the what was it?
Yeah, the,
marriages. 60% are
yeah,
love
marriages end in divorce. Yeah.
Like for instance, I think India and Pakistan, both of them, the amount of divorces that happen, only 1% of marriages in Pakistan end up in divorce. Only 1%. And when you think of that, you're like, wow, like we don't get divorces. That's great. And then in the US, it's like the opposite. There's a significant amount of people who get in divorces. Now, the way I see it, I don't see either situations as a good thing.
As a good thing, yeah, exactly.
Because I think both of what I've seen are the extreme. What I've seen in Pakistan is that a lot of people don't get divorces because they're stuck in the marriages. Because even if the husband cheats on you, you stay in the relationship because you don't have the financial resources to move out. And because divorce is a taboo, it's still a taboo. No matter what people say, it's still a taboo.
There's still judgment around it.
It's changing, but it's still a taboo.
Yeah.
Just to finish the point, that's Pakistan. But when you look at the US or the West where divorces are so common, why that's also a problem is because when you were talking about sacrifice and compromise, that's not a bad thing. You need to sacrifice in a relationship. Like that is, how will you ever be with a person if you always want exactly what you want and no other way? You can never be with a person that way. You need compromise and sacrifice. So I feel like because divorce is such an open option that like it's fine, I can get a divorce, like if it feels like that, that's why people don't even try enough. They're just like, okay, like fine, this is not working for me, I'm just gonna, they don't try enough. And I think that's the problem. Like I've seen both of the extremes, and I haven't seen, maybe in Europe where it's a little more, I think in Europe people don't even get married.
The common law or something it's
called.
No?
I don't know, but I think most of them just live in, they're the most countries in the world where people have live-in relationships. But
but you're not wrong when you're saying that. Like sometimes when it's too much of an option and it's so freely available, where there is no someone holding you accountable. I don't even want to use judgment over here, but someone holding you accountable, you'll go ahead and do this so many times before you're even prepared to actually be in a marriage. So where yes, you need to sacrifice, yes, you need to compromise. I think why the word compromise triggers women so much is because women needed to do the compromise.
Yeah. It triggered me a lot growing up.
Yeah, so women needed to do the compromise. Now when we say that there's compromise in a marriage, it means that you walk 40%, I'll walk 40%, the rest we'll figure out who's capable enough to do it, to do that extra walk.
I love that, yeah.
Right? That is compromise. Until that narrative doesn't get shifted, that word can be very triggering.
Yeah.
The sacrifice and the compromise. Immediately it's like, no, I don't want to do it. I'd rather be alone. I'm not into this,
Because when girls are growing up, all the word that they hear all the goddamn time is you have to sacrifice when you're gonna get married. Women have to sacrifice more than men. Like I cannot even count the amount of times I've heard that growing up. So I completely get why that's like triggering, because it was definitely for me.